This video presents the guidelines on taking your quizzes and exams. And these guidelines, the written guidelines for the quizzes and exams are also provided in your class notebook under the under the content library section group, course information section, and quizzes and exam page. Okay, so um, this is your guide in taking your quizzes and exams in this class. As your quiz and exam reports are a major source of your grades for the course, it is very important that you comply with all the guidelines set forth in this guide. Make sure that you read and understand each rule and make plans on how you can ensure 100% compliance to each. As a general rule, your non-compliance with the rules set forth here may cause you to 1. Incur deductions in your quiz scores, obtain low scores for your submission, or worst case scenario, invalidate your submission either in part or in whole. Okay, so these are the guidelines. 1. Schedule of quizzes and exams. The schedule of your quizzes and exams are already posted in your class calendar. So you can basically see your class calendar here, in which it would indicate the date and time of your scheduled quiz. Monitor changes in the class calendar and or announcement of changes in the schedule of these activities to keep track of them. Quizzes are open for 6 hours, okay, with a 1-hour grace period. Reports submitted within the 1-hour grace period are subject to point deductions depending on how late the submission was made. The maximum deductible points due to late submission will be 10% of the total number of points for the quiz. So for example, for a 100-point quiz, a maximum of 10 points may be deducted to late submissions. That's the maximum. But the points to be deducted depends on how late the submission was made. Final exams do not have grace period and must be submitted at the date and time it is due to be submitted. For quizzes after the grace period and for the exams after the submission due date and time lapses, submissions may not be made, and it will not be allowed, especially if it is done outside the assignment module of Teams. So that will consider so if the student fails to submit his quiz or exam reports on the time and date specified, it is considered to be non-submission. Distribution of quizzes and exams. Your quizzes and exams will be distributed by the classes teams to the assignment staff. So on the date and time of the schedule of your quiz or exams, the assignments module of Teams will post and notify you that the quiz or exam is already open. So say for example, this is our Teams. This is the Teams for our class. Once the schedule for the start of the quiz or exam commences, you would see a notification from the assignments module. So you will see here the quiz number, okay, when it is due to be submitted. Okay. Now, open the quiz by clicking the View Assignment button. Check out the time of submission and check out the time of submission due and the instructions. So when you open your when you open the or when you view the assignment, you would see something like this one. Okay, so here it specifies when it is the time it is due, okay, and when it will close. So remember that for quizzes there is a 1-hour grace period. So it will be due on, for example, 10 p.m. Okay, so it means that if the submission is made on or before 10 p.m., that is considered to be regular submission and will not entail any deduction because of late submission. But if the submission is made after 10 p.m. but before 11 p.m., okay, the submission will be slapped with deductions as stated before. Okay, then after 11 p.m., any submissions will not be entertained anymore. So here, the instructions are also provided. Okay, and these are the same instructions that are provided in the quiz form. Okay, so basically, when you see this, you can click this button under the student work so that it would lead you to the quiz form. So more or less, the quiz form looks something like this. So on the banner, you would see the course uh, code and the quiz number. Okay, um, and two links, two important links. The first one leads you to the questionnaire, and the second one leads you to the answer sheets. So the questionnaire. So click on the first link to view the questionnaire. Note that you will not be able to download the questionnaire for data privacy reasons. Take note that this is a clickable link, so you can simply click on this one. Okay. So clicking the link to the questionnaire would lead you to this file or to this PDF file, which again is not downloadable because of privacy reasons. These are quiz questions, so the questions here are supposed to be for your eyes only. Now let us zoom in so that we can read the contents. Okay, so on the first page of the questionnaire, you would read the general instruction for the quiz. So let us read it. The question code indicated in this questionnaire specifies the file name of the answer sheet template to be used to write your answers. More on that later. Download the answer sheet from the link to be provided on the quiz form. Again, more on this later on. Make sure that as you download, the answer sheets are still named as the question code. For example, QZ101, and it's not modified. Also, check carefully if you are using the correct answer sheet template for each question. Now, work on each question below. Each question part is credited for 10 points maximum. The following rubric will be used to evaluate your responses for each question part. So the rubric to assess or to score your responses are provided here. So later on, we will talk about this in more detail. Now, continue reading the instructions. Read and understand each question. Make sure that you're providing an accurate response to each question. Some questions may require tables, graphs, illustrations, etc. Make sure that each is provided when required. But you may also provide those, okay, even if the question does not require them, okay, but you feel that it will strengthen your argument and your response. So if the question really does not require illustrations, graphs, tables, etc., but if you feel that it will make your response better and more justified, then please do so. Just make sure that you are using them and interpreting these materials correctly. Okay. Make sure to read and understand the guidelines in writing your reports. Check out your class notebook under the course information section for the page titled On Writing Your Reports for the guidelines. We will talk about this again later. Non-compliance to these guidelines may cause your responses to be scored low or overall be invalidated. Upload the accomplished answer sheets on their proper location based on their question code. Answer sheets uploaded on incorrect location will not be credited. So those are the instructions provided here in the questionnaire. Okay, so make sure that you understand these instructions. Now, if you scroll further, you will be able to see now the questions. Okay, so the questions would actually start on the second page. So here we display now the first question. Okay, as you can see here, there is this question code which is QZ101. Okay, the questionnaire also indicates the highest possible score to be given for this particular question, and the question parts. So basically, this question one has 4 parts: part A, part B, part C, and part D. Okay, so there are 4 questions under question one. Okay, now the question code is important because it actually identifies the question and it identifies the answer sheet to be used when writing your responses. So the question code indicates the following. Number 1, the corresponding file name of the answer sheet where your responses are to be written for the particular question. So in this case, this question code QZ101 requires the answer sheet QZ101 as the template for writing your responses to each of these questions. Aside from that, the question code also indicates the corresponding item in the quiz form where your answer sheet must be uploaded in order to submit your report. So as you can see here in the quiz form, question items are indicated by the question code. So here it means that you are to upload your report for QZ101 on this location using this button. Okay, so and you are to upload the answer sheet, the accomplished answer sheet, okay, for the question code QZ102 for in this location by clicking this button. Okay, so those are the things that that you need the question code for. So that is why it's really important that you mind the question code for each questions. The highest possible score indicates the maximum credit points for the question. Each question contains parts. In the sample quiz above, question 1 has 4 parts: part A, part B, part C, and part D. Okay. Each part is scored using the rubric shown in the questionnaire for a maximum of 10 points, which is the number indicated at the far right side of the question part. So on the question part, on the questionnaire, you would see here part A, okay, and then the question for part A, and then a number here. This number actually indicates the maximum credit points for this question. So your response for this question may be scored for a maximum of 10 points. So each of these is scored for 10 points. Now, the rubric is applied per part independently. So you use the rubric for part A to evaluate the response for part A. You use the rubric to evaluate your response for part B, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the answer sheet template. The second link provided at the banner of the quiz form is the link to the answer sheet templates. So when you, again, going to the quiz form, you would see here a second link, okay? Download the answer sheet templates here. So if you click this one, it will lead you to the following OneDrive location. So as you can see here, there are 2 answer sheets available for quiz 1. But this is just for sample quiz, okay? For sample quiz 1. So what you do is you download them, okay? I suggest you download them individually so that you wouldn't have any problem with the file name or with anything. Okay, so let's save this into our workstation. Then we download the second answer sheet. Again, I suggest that you do this one one file at a time so that you wouldn't have any problems, especially with the file name. And remember that as you download, you need to preserve the file name of the answer sheet template. So now we have downloaded here the answer sheets with the code QZ101 and QZ102. So again, as a reminder, you need to preserve the file names as QZ101 and QZ102. If you have inadvertently changed the file name, please revert it back to these file names. Okay. Now let us open one of the answer sheets for the first quiz, for the first question. So here we have downloaded the answer sheets for each of the questions. Okay, so let's open them. So inside the answer sheet template, you would see that there are now spaces provided for each of the question parts. So since your question has 4 parts here, question QZ101 has 4 parts here, the answer sheet would also contain 4 parts. Okay, so there are now spaces provided. But before you proceed with writing your response, you first have to fill up this header with the information required. So you double click the header, double click this part to open them, and then you put in your information. Say, for example, this is De La Cruz, Juan Palermo. The course code, for example, is ECXXXX30. Okay, and the section is, say, for example, ECE 191. Okay, so you have to accomplish those information first. Okay, now after that, you can now proceed in writing your response. Okay, so first thing, when you write your response, okay, when you write your response, it is very important that you review the guidelines on how your report must be written. Okay, now these guidelines are written on the page on writing your reports, posted on the course information section of your class notebook. Now let us take some time in order to review those guidelines on writing your reports. Okay, what should be the guidelines that must be followed when writing your reports? Okay, so first, number one, answer incomplete sentences and provide context to it. So for starters, answering questions in incomplete sentences or in sentence fragments is not fun to read. Okay, so if uh if this is the question, okay, if this is the question, and you answer something like this one, this is not a very good response. Okay, because this is how a child in grade school would answer that question. Okay, the child would only give one or two questions because that's the limitation of his or her vocabulary. But you are not grade school students. You are engineering students already. You have way more vocabulary and more wisdom than grade school students. Okay, so therefore you should be able to answer questions in complete sentences. So this is an example of a better answer. Okay, so aside from giving answers in complete sentences, elaborate on your answer so that you can demonstrate the thought process that went behind the generation of the answer. Okay, so for example, this is a question. Okay, so again, as we discussed, answer just with one or two words is a very bad answer. Okay, but here, it actually provides, okay, the thought process which justifies the answer elevator. For example, the answer states that an elevator is an example of a feedback control system. Now, the answer goes on by saying that the control systems consist of subsystems that interact to produce an output. It commanded using an input signal. Okay, so what will the student do here is that he will justify the elevator as a feedback control system by using the definition of a control system and pointing out that this definition, okay, or the definitions or the elevator complies with the requirements of the definition. Okay, so first, he states that an elevator is a mechanical system driven by a motor and its driver, belts, pulleys, and counterweights to move a loaded elevator car to ascend or descend. So that is where the student justifies that an elevator consists of subsystems, okay, that interact. Okay, now a user uses button to send a signal to the system, okay, which consistent with this part of the definition. Okay, and what happens if we command a control system using an input signal? It moves the car to a certain floor, and the elevator car responds to that input by moving into the floor where the user has commanded into. So it produces an output when commanded. Okay, so therefore, the student provided the thought process by which the thought process used in order to justify his answer of elevator as an example of a control system. Okay, so another example here is that what is the polar form of a complex number? Okay, so a bad answer would be something like this one. It just writes a number in the complex form. So a better one is to actually expound on the idea. Okay, so a complex number in rectangular form, x equals x plus iy, can be expressed in smaller form, okay, with r equals there and theta equals there, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are not perfect answers, but these are better answers than the first. All right, these answers provide factual information at the basic level. It mean when your answers are like that, it means that you are aware of the basic facts that surround the topic or the question. Okay, so the answers had some number of details that the student was able to accurately use terms and to precisely connect these terms to each other. Okay, so one thing that you are to be assessed to is your use of terms related to the subject matter that is being uh, talked about or is being asked. Okay, so the thing is that we will only be able to understand. One manifestation of us understanding topics is we can accurately use terms. Okay, we can actually use terms in order to explain uh, things in and around, or in order to discuss matters in and around the subject matter. Okay, so third, in the first question especially, the answer reflected the student's thinking. In order to be able to consider an application being a control system, the application should contain elements of the definition of a control system. Okay, so these are important pieces of evidences that can point to your achievement of the outcomes being assessed in these questions. Okay, so to summarize, answer questions with enough detail so that the answer becomes reflective of your achievement of the student outcomes. Number two, use figures, tables, graph equations into your answers. So the best answers to the questions are those that provide elements that support the argument being raised, whether these elements are being required by the questions or not. Okay, these elements include illustrative figures, tables, graphs, codes, equations, etc. Okay, if the question requires you to show a table of values, then you should provide one. Okay, otherwise your response is incomplete. If the question requires a table of values, then you should provide a table of values. Okay, so you will not have a shot at obtaining the full credit for that question. Okay, um, but you have to remember also that these elements, these illustrative figures, tables, graphs, codes, equations, etc., do not explain themselves. These are not self-explanatory. Okay, you have to do some explaining. When you provide these elements, okay, you have to do some explaining. Okay, so a common mistake among students is that they present a code in MATLAB or Octave in order to answer a certain question, but they stop at just presenting the code and the results. Okay, they kind of leave the interpretation of the results to the one evaluating their paper, which is wrong. Okay, codes are not self-explanatory. You have to explain them. Okay, so for example, you have this problem. Okay, this is an actual student answer from a previous quiz. Okay, or previous activity or assignment. Okay, so here the student shows that it converts it rewrites the equation. Okay, and then or he provides the what we call the route table for the system. Okay, the route table actually is a tool used to determine whether a system is stable or not. Okay, so from here you can see uh, you can determine the stability of the system. Now here is the part of the student response where he provides codes, okay, and an output. Okay, so and then that ends the response of the student. Now here are the good points about the student answer. Okay, the student verified the conclusion. Okay, which is the conclusion that the system is unstable. Okay, he first arrived using a method taught in the class, which is called the route table. Okay, that conclusion was verified using MATLAB. Okay, um, remember that this verification is not part of the question. So the question does not require the verification of the conclusion. Okay, but the student proceeded okay, in providing the verification anyway. So that's very good. Okay. So another good part of the code or the of the response is that um, his codes are different from other text in his answer or in his response. Basically, when you write codes, you have to provide them using different text so that you will be able to differentiate codes from the other bodies of your response or from the other text of your response. So those are the two good points about the student's answer. Now, what are the bad points about the student answers? Okay. The basis for the student's conclusion. Okay. So as you can see that the student here states that as you can see in the table, there are two sign changes which is and therefore the system is unstable. So this statement actually lacks uh, the details needed to actually verify where the student was able to obtain the basis for the conclusion. Okay, it does not specify where to look for these two sign changes. Where are these two sign changes? Okay, in the route table. So the student did not point that out. Okay, so that's a point against the student. Okay, so the justification for the conclusion is not really that uh, pointed out. Okay, so also, aside from that, um, the student also failed to provide the basis, okay, for the conclusion. Okay, here's the thing: if there are two sign changes in the table, why do we arrive at the conclusion that the system is unstable? So, what makes us think that two sign changes in the table makes us think that the system is unstable? Okay, will three sign changes in the table make the system stable? Okay. So is the stability of the system depend on the number of sign changes? So what was the basis of the conclusion? Okay, what was the real basis of the conclusion? So therefore, that is where the student failed to really justify uh, his conclusion based on the tool, which is the route table. Okay. Now, the codes were unexplained. So what do the codes do? Okay. How do they help you verify your conclusions? Okay. So again, codes are not self-explanatory. In general, the elements that you will be able to add in your response are not self-explanatory. Okay. They need to be explained. Okay. They need counterpart discussions in order for them to be complete. Okay. So there. Also, a graph was presented. Okay. Which was not required by the question. Okay, so that should have been a good point for the student or a point for the student. Okay, but the thing is that he presented a graph, but he did not explain what the graph means. So therefore, what does the graph mean? How does it justify how does it justify the conclusion that the system is unstable? Okay, so again, these elements, the graph, the codes, okay, and other elements that may be added, the table, okay, are not um, self-explanatory. They need to be explained. Okay. So if used properly, illustrative figures, tables, graphs, equations, etc., can be very helpful in improving your answers to questions. But if they are just placed there without any supporting narratives or discussions, they will just be a sore in the eye. Okay. So it would just cause you to, instead of scoring a high, obtaining a high score for the question because you place a graph, but if you stop short of providing discussion for the graph, it might actually work against you. Okay. And might cause you to obtain low scores instead. Okay. So, a special reminder when presenting codes into your report. Okay. So, as a general rule, commands and codes that you wish to include as part of your report must be presented as text, not images. So, when you present codes, for example, to provide or if you are to use a computational application, okay, or computational software in order to as part of your solution, to solve a problem, okay, and then you needed to provide the commands or the codes in order for you to solve the problem, you provide those codes as texts, okay, not as images, okay. Students tend to screenshot codes, which is wrong, okay. Do not screenshot codes. You copy and paste them into your report, okay, and use uh, use a different type of font, okay, for codes. Especially equally spaced fonts, okay, or those fonts that produce characters that are of equal spaces. Okay, so one example of which is the Courier New. Okay, so you may use the for codes you may use Courier New as the font type, and use between 9 and 11 as the font size. Okay, so they must be inside table so that they are separated from all other texts. Okay, so you may actually copy and paste codes from the windows of MATLAB. Okay, then paste it, okay, in the table. Okay, then after that, simply change the font to Courier New and the font size to between 9 and 11 after that. Okay, so that will keep all the formatting done by MATLAB into your code. So this is an example of how commands in MATLAB should be reported. Okay, again, these are texts. The thing is that I can copy and paste them. Okay, so that I can actually test your code if they actually work. Okay, and if for example you are presenting a not commands but say for example a function file instead, okay, in which the codes are saved on an M file, okay, then you can present it this way. Okay, so those are the guidelines for presenting codes. Number 3, okay, number third guideline, as much as possible type in your answer. Okay, so as much as possible I want you to use your word processor to type in your answer. Okay, while it is acceptable for you to write your answers on a paper, scan the paper, and then upload the scanned image into the answer sheet, it is still highly recommended that you type your reports more. Okay, typing your reports more is more convenient. Okay, does not require you to use papers and is readable. Okay, it's much more readable in most cases. Okay, so while I do understand, okay, that some of you are still working using your mobile phones, okay, so in that case, if you are to still write your report on a paper and scan the paper and upload the scanned image into your report template or in your answer sheet, okay, be very careful and very vigilant on how your uploaded images turn out on a laptop screen. Okay, um, make sure that it is readable by other people. Okay, remember that I'll be the one evaluating your paper. Okay, so your report must be readable by me. Okay, so if your report, but if you think that your report is readable because you are the one who have written it and then you submitted it, okay, but on my side is I was not able to read your report that much, okay, then we would have a problem with the scoring of your report. Okay, so there. Now, some images turned out to be blurred, too small, or too large. Okay, with some images that are too small. Okay, even if I'm checking on a computer and there is this zoom in feature, sometimes it does not help. Okay, because either the image was taken without or too much lighting, or the resolution of the image is very low. Okay, so make sure that the size of your image is sufficient in order for others to read your report. Okay, so please do not submit report like this. Okay, this is how small the the student uploaded his uh, image into the answer sheet of a quiz. Okay? And as you can see, even if I zoom in to the paper, I still cannot read. You will not be able to read the contents. So in that case, this response would automatically be invalidated. Okay? Because I cannot read anything. Okay? So what would I use to score this response? So automatically this score or this response would get a very low grade. I just give it a credit point of 2 for this particular case. But this should have been a 0 instead. Okay? So there. So please do provide sufficiently sized images when you are to provide your responses as scanned images. Okay. Number four. Number four guideline. If you ought to provide images of your report instead of typing them, use scanner apps instead of using your device's camera. Okay. So there are a lot of scanner apps available on iPhone and Android phones. Okay. Please do download one of them. Okay. I'd recommend Microsoft Lens as the scanner app because it is also included in our Office 365 subscription. So therefore, it should come as free. Okay. So um, as much as possible, do not use your device's camera only to scan your image. Do not just take pictures of your document. Scan them, okay, using a scanner app. Okay. Here's the difference between taking an image of your report, okay, your written report using your device's camera, okay, and this is the same image scan, okay, using Office Lens. Okay, so not only it is lighter, it provide lighter image, it is also flattened. Okay, the image is flattened as if the way that it was taken was placing your phone on a very horizontal manner. Okay, so an advantage of scanner apps to scan your documents is that it flattens your image, whatever angle you have taken them into. Okay, even if you have taken them on a very steep angle, the scanner app would attempt to flatten the image. Okay, and would produce a flatter image. Okay, so you observe that the scanned image is flatter, brighter, and the contents are much more readable than the image captured by a camera alone. Okay? Now, if I actually use the whiteboard mode of Microsoft Lens, it would actually give me a much brighter um, image, okay, which is much more readable, just like this one. Okay? So, in this mode, high contrast colors such as black or blue ink written on white bond paper will be differentiated more, producing readable images. Okay? When adjusting the size of these images, remember that when you adjust the size, okay, because they may turn out to be too small or too large, okay, drag them off the corners, drag them along here, okay, not vertically or horizontally, okay. Don't adjust them on the left or right, okay, or up or down, okay. Adjust them diagonally, okay, using the diagonal buttons here. Okay, why? Because it would maintain the aspect ratio of your image. Okay, and would not distort the text written here. Okay, so as much as possible, when you are placing images into your reports, okay, always try to maintain aspect ratios so that the image would not be distorted. Okay, so it would be very hard to read if your image looks like this. The letters are elongated, okay, or something like this one, Okay? So it would be very hard to read something like this one. Okay? So when you adjust your image, okay, adjust them along the corner, not on the sides. Okay? So there. Fifth guideline, show and discuss details of your mathematical solutions. Okay? So I am not privy to what goes into your mind, and so generally, I will not know if you know a certain mathematical operation or tool or process as it applies to your solutions. Okay? So I do not know if you know or you have mastered the use of the tools or process that we have discussed in class, or you have discussed in previous courses that we need to use in our class. Okay, so the best thing for you to help me know that is to put your thinking into words. Okay, uh, whatever you know, you have to put it into words so that I would know whether you know them or not. Okay. By default, if you do not provide discussions, my thinking is you do not know what you're talking about. That's the thing. Okay. If you do not know what you're talking about, it means that you haven't achieved the required outcomes for the particular lesson or particular topic that we are assessing in your quiz or in your exam. Okay. And therefore, you would score low for that. Okay. So in the same manner, lines of equations used to present solutions to solve math problems does not amount to any shred of evidence that outcomes has been achieved. Even if you write all of the equations needed to solve a certain problem, if you do not provide narratives on what is happening in your solution, then uh, lines of equations that do not serve their purpose. Okay? So say, for example, if the outcome being measured in an assessment question is obtain the Laplace transform of a given function in t, okay, you should be able to show that you understand the complete process of obtaining Laplace transforms, okay, including, okay, including which pair of Laplace transform applies to the problem, okay, and which properties of the Laplace transform are needed in order for you to obtain the Laplace transform of the given function. Okay? A bunch of equations from the problem to the answer will never be able to show this complete process. Okay? Even if you present them in a complete manner, as long as you are not able to explain the narrative that goes into the thinking of why you need to perform a certain process or a certain operation, okay, it is your solution or your response still lack the evidence that you are achieving the outcomes being assessed in a particular question. Okay, so look at the examples here so that you would be able to understand what I am trying to say. Okay, so here, in this case, the student just, if this is a question, okay, the student just provided lines of equations. Okay, so that response in our question in our quiz and in our homeworks and in our exams will not hold, okay, and that kind of response without any narrative will be scored very low because it does not provide any thought process. It does not provide any shred of evidence whether you have been achieving um, the the outcomes being assessed in the question or not. Okay, so in order for you to enhance this answer, for example, you need to provide narratives or you need to provide discussion for each part. So there, instead of just writing this bunch of equations, you narrate um, how to solve them. Okay, so there. Okay, a good model to follow when trying to write a response or trying to write a response to problem solving questions are the examples given in your reading materials. Okay, if you look at the examples uh, in your reading materials, the examples here are now really detailed in terms of its discussion. Okay? So that's a good model to emulate on when writing your response. Okay? Whenever you write your response for a problem-solving questions, you can emulate how the examples in your reading materials are written. Okay. In the same manner, the use of one word or two words to narrate a certain process in your solution is insufficient. Okay? As stated in the first guideline, okay, answer or provide your answers in complete sentences and provide context to it. Okay? Using only one word or two words to narrate your solutions without any context is just the same as not narrating anything at all. Okay? So here, the student is just saying KVL around A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So it doesn't mean anything. Okay? It does not mean anything. Then, applying Laplace transform. How do you apply Laplace transform? And so on. Okay? So, one or two words used to describe the process is insufficient. You need to provide complete sentences and context around your solution. Okay? So, some students provide a solution then discuss the solution after. You don't do that. You never do this. Okay? You narrate things as they happen. You provide the discussion as the process is to happen. Okay? So, you don't do this that you provide the solution and then you provide the discussion after. Okay? So, I have also given here examples of how your response must be written. Okay? How your response must be written. So, you may, again, use them as models, okay, when writing your own response. Okay? So, you can use this as a model. You can use the examples in the provided reading materials as a model in writing your response. Okay? So, and in the discussion later, when we continue in the discussion of quizzes and exams, more models to emulate in writing your response will be provided. Okay? And here, this is important. Okay? Never ever directly lift. This is another guideline. No? Never ever directly lift textbook, solution manual, or any other references, statements, narrative solutions without you trying to explain this into your own words of understanding. Okay? So, if you lift textbook answers, or if I feel that your answer are textbook answers or answers that are provided in a textbook or in a manual, in a solution manual, or in an internet source, okay? Um, that those kinds of answers may be scored automatically 0 or very low, okay? Because that actually constitutes plagiarism already. Okay? So plagiarism is an act of trying to claim someone else's work in part or as a whole, as one's own without proper attribution. If you actually include them textbook answers, textbook narrative into your report, and you without saying that this narrative were lifted from this source, okay, that's plagiarism already. Okay? So, remember that whatever you write into your reports, you claim them as your own because you are putting your name on your report. So, everything that is written under your report is your own. So, you own them all. Okay? So, thus, if your answers to the questions are exactly what a reference would say, especially verbatim, word for word, okay, and you fail to attribute those answers to where the credit is due, okay, you are committing plagiarism already. Okay? So any work with the plagiarized content will automatically score 0. Okay? Take note that lifting your answers from your classmate or from past works, okay, unless the past works are yours, okay, is plagiarism also, with or without attribution. As long as it comes from your classmate, okay, or from former students of the class. Okay? So now, this is not to say that you cannot use references to compose your own answers. Okay? You can, okay, and you actually should. You are recommended to actually use references. Okay. Now, what is being prohibited here, okay, is the act of using statements, narrative solutions from the reference without you, okay, putting your own thoughts into it. It means that if you lift a textbook narrative, okay, or a uh, set of steps, for example, from a book, okay, it's okay, okay, as long as you say that those narratives or those words came from this book, okay. But you also have to give your own take on what the narrative says. It means that you have to explain them, try to explain them into your own words, or try to explain them using your own words. Okay, so that is how it should work. So you get you refer to to a textbook or to a reference, uh, the possible response to a question, and then you put in your own take, or you put in your own words, okay, based on what you have learned from the reference. Okay, so here this shows an example of student solution and answer, which was directly lifted from a solution manual. Okay, so what I did here was all students in this class got a score of 0. Okay, for the entire homework in which this item was included. So I gave the entire class a 0 because this is also the answer of the entire class. And this is directly lifted from the solution manual. So that's a no. That's a no-no. Okay. So it is perfectly okay to refer to your references. Okay. The reading materials I provided, prescribed textbook and books references, solution manuals, etc. And write your answers to the questions based on what you have found. Okay. What is not okay is not you giving a personal touch and flavor on these answers. You need to provide your own understanding. How you understand them, how did you understand these references? Okay. So you need to show that outcomes assessed in a question has been achieved by you. Okay, but failing to provide your own insight on an answer to a question does not show any achievement of outcomes whatsoever. Okay, if you use textbook answers, okay, it does not provide your own thought. So there's no outcome to check, or there's no evidence of outcome to check. So therefore, automatically your response would be scored very low. Okay, so we are not testing you to be skilled in finding resources. We are testing you to your understanding of the subject that we are dealing with in the class. Okay. So besides, this is clear and outright academic dishonesty, and no reason will excuse you from the sanctions that comes with it once your work contains plagiarized material. Okay. So in this example, the student lifted up statements from the reference, but made the attribution and attempted to provide his or own take on these statements. So this is the question. Okay. So here, the first part of the answer, the student provided the attribution where he or she obtained the text. Okay. So on these parts, the student attempted to explain using his or her own understanding of the um, narrative or discussion provided by the reference he or she used to write this answer. So this is a very good one. Okay, this is a very good answer. Okay. So I hope that if you are to use your or if you are to use references in your answer, you attribute it properly. Okay, you cite your sources and then you provide your own take on provide your own understanding on the discussions made from your reference. Okay? So I hope that you practice these reminders as you write your reports. This will not just be a way for you to learn the subject matter while you create your reports. It also enables you to improve on soft skills, such as improving your written communication skills, using tools to create professional reports, and many more. It will also help me try to give more insightful feedback, okay, which you can also use for learning further. and makes my work in assessing your submission way much easier. It also increases the probability of you getting high scores because it would provide more insights. Okay, it would provide me more insight of your thinking process. So therefore, the only way that you can obtain high scores for quizzes, exams, and homeworks is for you to follow how your reports, follow these guidelines, okay, on how your reports must be written. Okay. Okay, so now that we have reviewed the guidelines on how your reports must be written, now let us, in particular, let us provide the guidelines on how you should be presenting your report for your quizzes and exams. Okay, so first, on the answer sheet template, okay, your response must be written below the banner indicating the question part, not inside, okay, the banner. I have many students before that is prone to this kind of mistake. That is, they write their response inside the banner that indicates the question, which is wrong. Okay, so this image illustrates the correct way of where to write your response. So this is the banner. Now the banner is colored gray. Okay, so you write your response below the banner. Okay, so you don't write the response inside the banner. Okay, so your report should not look like this. Okay, so there. Now, you can write your response in two ways as stated in before. You can write your response in two ways. So number one, you can type in your response on the space provided for each question. And this is my recommended manner or my recommended way of writing your report. That is, you type in your response. Okay? So say for example, we are working to on the response to this question number 1. So consider the circle x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus minus 8y equals 0 as shown. Okay? So first we are asked to find the center and radius of the circle. Okay. By the way, you do not need to copy the question into your answer sheet template. So you just need to write your response outright. Okay? But if it makes you comfortable to write the question on the here on the answer sheet template, it's okay. But it is not required that you write the question here. Okay? So you can outright proceed in writing your response. Okay? So let us start writing your response. Okay? So the first question was to find the center and radius of the circle. Okay? So the given circle has the equation x squared plus y squared minus 6x minus 8y equals 0. So let's start with that. So let's erase this one. When you start your writing response, you erase the answer here, words there. Okay? And then you type in your answer. So let us write the following. Now, given the circle, okay, what was the equation of the circle? X squared the equation was x squared. So since I am writing an equation for a circle, okay, I am to use the equation editor. Okay, so you can do that by inserting, click insert and then equation here. Okay, and then you write this equation. So x squared can be written by typing in or using the script. Okay, and then choosing this. Okay, and then typing in x and then squared here. Okay, or the easiest way is to actually just use the keyboard in which the caret sign actually triggers exponentiation or superscripting. Okay, so if I type in y caret 2 and then press space, it becomes y squared. Okay, so minus 6x minus 8y, okay, equals 0. Anyway, the use of equations, okay, when you use your the use of equation editors in equation editor in Microsoft Word is something that you have to learn on your own. Okay, so I would not be able to teach you all that because that's out of my that's out of our course that's out of our the scope of our course na. Okay, so it's actually a skill that you have to learn on your own. So given the circle, x squared plus y squared minus 6s minus 8y equals 0. We can we can locate the its center and determine its radius by rewriting the circle's equation in the form this form that I am writing this equation, this form of equation that I am writing for a circle is what we call in geometry as the standard form of the equation of a circle. Okay, so it actually exposes this form of the equation actually exposes the coordinates of the center of the circle. Okay, so which is or which indicates or with the coordinates with the coordinates HK, okay, uh, the with the coordinates HK, the center of the circle. So the center of the circle is located at the coordinate HK, which you can see here in the standard form. Okay, and R, okay, the value of R here, okay, gives the radius of the circle. Okay, so for the given circle, we can group the terms, okay, containing x's and y's, okay, then add constants so that each group of terms become a perfect square trinomial. So what I was trying to say here is that given this one, okay, given this equation of the circle, we will have for us to be able to rewrite this okay into the standard form. We will first have to regroup, or we will first have to group the terms in terms of those that contain x. So we will have to group x squared and 6x together. Let's place them inside a parenthesis. Okay. And then group terms containing y. So that would be the term y squared and negative 8y. So we'll put them into parentheses. And then what we will do is that for each group, we add constants. Okay? So that each group of terms become a perfect square trinomial. So what we will do is we will have to make this a perfect square trinomial. This is something that you know in your past courses as completing the square. Okay? It is say that it is you say that you are to complete the square of this two terms. Okay? But what we are trying to do here is to add a constant so that this becomes a perfect square trinomial. So, to make this a perfect square trinomial, remember that a perfect square trinomial uh, has the following property. Okay? It has the following property. say for example, you have x plus a squared. Again, a perfect square trinomial is factorable into this form. Okay? So, x plus a squared becomes x squared plus 2ax plus a squared as its expanded form. Okay? And this is a perfect square trinomial. This is what we consider a perfect square trinomial. So, a perfect square trinomial has the following attributes. Number one, the first and the last terms are perfect squares. Okay, so the first and the last terms are perfect squares. Now, the middle term, okay, the middle term is twice, the product of the first term and the last term. So, it's twice the product of the first term and the last term. Okay, so which means the constant that we will have to add here, since this becomes the third term of that trinomial, should be a perfect square. Okay, and we can determine that constant, okay, by first actually dividing this into 2. Okay, because again, this middle term is twice the product of the square root of the first term and the square root of the last term. Okay, so essentially, this x here originated from the square root of x squared, okay, and 6 here must come from the product of 2 times a number, which in this case 3. Okay, so 3 is the constant that we are looking for because 3 actually gives the third term here. If we square 3, it would give us 9, which would give us the constant needed to make this a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so you review your algebra regarding this one. Okay, and then here, this is y squared minus 8y plus 16. That completes the square of that trinomial. Okay, so let's try to highlight this 9, okay, and this 16, okay, so that we remember that we have added them into your expression. And since we have added them on the left side, we also have to add those same numbers on the right side so that the equation maintains its equality. Okay, so that still the equation is true. And 9 plus 16 is actually equal to 25. Okay, now the highlighted constants now, okay, represents the let's write that one. The highlighted constants are the constants that we have added, okay, which we also have added to the right side of the equation to maintain the truthfulness of the equation. Okay. Now, again, we go back to this equation. Okay. So we go back to that equation. So since in this equation, okay. Now, we now consider this to be a perfect square trinomial. So let's highlight this one. Okay, and then we also consider this to be a perfect square trinomial. So we highlight this one. Then we remove this because we already determined the sum to be 25. Okay, so now we see that since the two highlighted trinomials, okay, so the highlighted trinomials are perfect trinomials, are perfect square trinomials. Okay, we can, they can be rewritten or written as follows. So we can rewrite them as follows, no? So we will have this. again, we can copy that equation. Okay, and that's the convenience of actually typing in your because you can copy equations. Okay, so we can write this as x minus 3 squared. Again, the factor of this simply now the square root of this and the middle sign and the square root of the last term squared. Okay, so this one factors to y minus 4 squared. Okay, so which now gives, okay, so this is now equation of the circle in standard form. And as we can see, as we can observe, okay, the coordinates of the center of the circle is at, okay, the center is at 3, 4, that's HK, okay, so that's this and this gives the H and K, okay, and the radius is actually, this is r squared, okay, and r squared here is 25, so therefore r is the square root of 25, so that is simply 5. Okay, so since the first item, okay, the first item asks for the center and the radius of the circle, we have already answered that, okay, because this is already the radius, I mean this is already the center of the circle and the radius of your circle. Okay, but let us provide a graph that would describe this situation. Okay, let's provide a graph for that. So I've generated this illustration from Desmos. Okay, so that I can label the center and the radius. And to finalize our response, let's also highlight this part of the sentence because we need to have your response to be, to be in full sentences. Okay, so there. So that now forms our response or our answer to the question. Okay, so since the question asks for the center and the radius of the circle, okay, so we have provided the center and the radius of the circle. And although the question does not require us to present an illustration, we still have provided it because, again, this would enhance your chance of getting a high score because this indicates that you have a profound understanding, okay, of what is being asked here. Okay, so there. Now let us continue on writing the response, but I will not demonstrate it here in the recorded in this recording. Okay, so I'll just show it to you uh, 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 after it is done. Okay, so here at this point I am done writing the response for for question 1. Okay, so this is my response for question 2. Again, I provided an illustration, okay, without even the question does not require me to do so, because again, this is still is or this is still is this provides the evaluator an insight on how you understand because you are able to illustrate it. You are able to put it into an illustration. Okay, and then so you write your equations and so on, you explain them, and then finally you highlight your final answer. Okay, so this is the answer, this is the response for your question 1 part C. Okay, and finally this is the response for question 1 part D. Okay, so that's this is now your accomplished answer sheet for question 1 part A. I mean for question 1. Okay, so this is now your accomplished answer sheet. Now you save it and make sure that its file name is still QZ101, the question code for which this question should correspond to. Okay, now let's proceed to question code QZ102 or question 2. okay, which has two parts, okay, part A and part B. Okay. Now, this time, instead of actually writing, oh, by the way, so that is the first manner of writing your report, no, by typing in your response. Okay. So when writing your response in this manner, use equation editors to write in equations, resize images reasonably, okay, highlight your final answers, and use the templates formatting settings, okay, of font type, font size, alignment, spacing, and margin. As much as possible, do not change any of the formatting settings. The only time that you are allowed to is, for example, when you are to emphasize something by uh, writing a part of your text into bold typeface or into italics typeface and so on, or writing codes your computer, from your computational software. Okay, so there. Now, the second way by which you can write and present your responses is by writing them on a piece of paper. Okay, and then using a scanner app, okay, installed on your mobile phone. Scan the handwritten report as an image, insert the image into the answer sheet template, and let's try to see the illustration here, okay, in which this is actually question 2, okay. So let's try to answer question 2 using that manner. So this is the answer sheet for your question 2, okay, and so I have written my response to a piece of paper, and then I scanned it. I scanned them using I scanned the handwritten pages using Microsoft Lens, and then I have saved it into my computer. So these are the image files for those. So here's the first page of my response. Okay, for question 2, part A. Okay, this is the second page of that. Okay, and this is uh, the loan page for question 2 part D. Okay. Now, again, you are encouraged to use scanner app so that you may produce better images. Okay, but it actually starts with you writing legibly. Okay, you first have to write legibly on the paper, and as much as possible, write big. Okay, because you have to scan the document after. So writing small would actually not help in producing quality images for your response. Okay. Now, we can actually do some adjustments to our image. Like for example, we can actually crop out those parts that are not really needed, like the spaces on the sides. We can actually crop them out. Okay. So it's actually recommended that you crop those white spaces out of your images so that you will be able to have a more sleek image. Okay, so let's save that one. Let's have the second page. Again, let's crop the white spaces on the sides. Just make sure that you are not cropping important parts of your paper when you do this. So we now have our cropped images. Okay, now we're ready to insert them into our report. Okay, so again, um, we erase this one. So this is the answer sheet for the question 2. Okay. So again, we fill this form, this filled up. Okay. So let's have De La Cruz, Juan, Palermo. We have the course code as EC XXXX30 and ECE 191 is our section. Okay. So those are the things that we need to fill up. And then we need now to put in our answer. Okay, our scanned answer here. Okay, so you do that by first putting your cursor on the center, then use insert pictures. Uh, you insert the picture from this location. Okay, so let's choose this one because this is the first page of our answer for part A. So this is the resulting image when inserted. Okay. So first thing, you have to make sure that the page actually covers the entire width of your page. Okay. So you may again you may crop them out. Okay, using this if you are to crop the white spaces if there are still any. Okay, and you may adjust the size. Okay, uh, the size of your image. You may adjust the size of your image by selecting the image, going to the picture format, and then selecting or adjusting this width or this height. Um, it is recommended that you adjust the size of your images here on this part because it maintains the aspect ratio of your, again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to maintain the aspect ratio of your images so that the text of your handwritten report will not become distorted. Okay? So let's set the width to 7.2 inches. Okay? So that's 7.2 inches. Okay? So that it would ensure that it covers the entire width of the page. Okay? So there. Now, let's start the next one. Okay? Let's start the next answer. By the way, I have a second page to insert pa. So, again, I'll center the cursor, insert, picture. So, this is the page 2 of that response. Okay? So, there. So, we don't need to crop anything out here because there's no more white space to be cropped out. Let's just set the width to 7.2 inches. Okay, so there. So that now constitutes your response for question 2, part A. Okay? So I need or we need your response. When you are writing your report this way, I need your scan image to be of this quality so that I can read as evaluator I can read your response easily. Okay? So there. And then let's start the next our response for question part B on the next page. So let's erase this one. Okay. Put the cursor on the center. Click insert picture and then insert the image for QZ102B. There. Okay. So again, let's adjust um, the image width to 7.2. Okay. So there. So that now constitutes your response for question 2. Okay, and at this point, we're done with the report for question 2. So let's save this one, again, as QZ102. So when you intend to submit in this manner by scanning your your handwritten response, okay, please observe the following, okay? You have to write clearly and legibly, okay? So it is highly possible that the evaluation of your paper will be forfeited if your report is unreadable. Once I get to see that your report is unreadable, you may miss the chance of getting any credit score for the particular question. Use high contrast paper and ink when writing reports. Okay. Uh, the preferred one is to use a blank ink. Okay, written on a white paper. Okay, that's the preferred combination. But if the only material that you have in there with you are, for example, yellow pad paper, okay, and black or blue ink, then that might also do. Okay, that will also do. Just make sure that your handwriting is readable. Okay, use a scanner app such as Microsoft Lens to scan your document. Mobile phone cameras do not have the features of a document scanner app, such as flattening your image, removing shadows, etc. Okay? Now, when you have placed your scanned image in the answer sheet template, crop the unnecessary spaces out of the image. You can do that using an image editor, okay? Or you can do that inside the Microsoft Word after you um, uploaded the image into the answer sheet. So to do that, select your image, go to the Picture Format tab, choose Crop under the Size group, okay, so that you can crop the white spaces around your image, okay. Then you can set the width of your image to 7.2 inches, which is you can set it here, okay. Your images should cover the entire width of the page of your answer sheet, okay. It's the general rule, okay. So something like this is unacceptable. That is, you just uploaded with this size, okay, and this will not be acceptable to me, okay. Now, never allow your image to be too long or too large that it would skip an entire page, okay. Now, let us just say that after you have inserted your image into your answer sheet, this is what happens, okay. This is what happens into your template, okay, answer sheet template, okay. Do not submit your answer sheet in this way, okay. This is really annoying to me, okay. So do not allow very large space, empty space that is present into your answer sheet. For one thing, I can interpret this to be of no answer. Okay? Because sometimes I really do not scroll down your answer sheet. Okay? Because again, I am expecting that you put your answer under the banner. Okay? So what will you do if you have a situation just like this? Okay? That your image is actually too long, so that it actually skips one of the page. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You make a copy of this, okay, of this image below it. Okay, so you make a copy of that. So select Control C for copy, then put the cursor on the corner, then press enter, then paste Control V. Okay, so that's how you make a copy of that uh, page. Now, let us crop this so that it fits on the first page. Okay. So let us go to picture. Let us select the image. Go to picture format. Crop. Okay. Crop it from below, from here. Okay. So crop it, say for example, until here, and see if the page now adjusts to the second one. Okay. So now, um, with this kind of cropping, okay, or with this length of cropping, your image is now on the first page, okay. Now, what we need to do is to crop the lower part of that, and then the reason why you make a copy is that you have to crop the upper part of that same image so that it becomes continuous. So since we have cropped the first page from up to this point, we have to crop this up from above, okay, up to this point there, up to that point. Okay? So now that ensures now uh, your page to be fully reported, okay, fully presented, but at the same time, it does not leave a large space after the banner of question 2 part A. Okay? Now let's do this for here because again, this is still causes it to have a large space here. Again, we need this to be continuous. So after this page, we need to have your page. We need to read your page here. So again, we make a copy of this. So Control C for copy. Then we put our cursor here. Okay, center it, paste. Okay, and then let's crop this one. Okay, again, select, go to picture format, crop. Crop it from below. So let's have it until at this point and see that we can actually uh, add more of the image. Okay, I think we can stop here. Okay, and then the copy, we have to crop the parts that are already here in the first page. Okay, so we have to crop this one until this point. There. So there's our response now. So you see that you can now continually read the document, okay? And there are no too much large spaces that are present. So we continue on by adjusting this up, okay? And then again, let's make a copy of this one, okay? Place it below the document, okay? And then crop this, okay, from below, so that the first part would actually go to the first page. Say, for example, until this point. Okay, not enough. Up to this. There. Okay, I think this is enough. Okay, so let's crop this one. And then on the copy, okay, we have to remove this these parts from the copy. Okay, so that we can continually, we can produce continuous report for your question or for your response. Okay, so let's grab this one. So there. So now, we do not have now the large spaces, okay, that are present earlier because our image is too long. Okay, so you need to remove those large spaces. Okay, I don't want those large spaces appearing on your answer sheets. Okay, so other things that you have to remember when submitting your report in using handwritten documents, okay? Always resize images under the size group of the pictures format tab, okay? This will ensure that your image will maintain its aspect ratio. So every time you adjust images, you need to maintain the aspect ratio of your images, okay? I don't want seeing your images to be distorted. I don't want seeing too large of a handwriting or too little a handwriting, okay? Or letters that handwriting that are too long or too stout, or uh, disproportionate letters in your handwriting. So I don't want seeing that. Okay, so whenever you are adjusting, okay, your the size of your images, always use this part of the application. Okay, just make sure that you have to check this lock aspect ratio. Okay, or as I mentioned earlier, you can actually adjust them by dragging the corners. Okay, and not the sides. Okay, so there. Never upload images that are too dark, blurred, with illegible handwriting, full of shadows, too large or too small, etc. Do not submit something like this. I was not able to read anything out of this, so although I think I was able to decipher some. That's why I have given this a score of 5. There. So, but something like this would actually not work at this point. Okay, so if you submit a report or a response that is something like this, chances are I will not check this and just give it a score of 0. So in general, always remember that your reports are to be evaluated. So therefore, they must be readable in order for the evaluator to give proper credit points to your report. Okay. Thus, it is your responsibility to ensure that your report is readable by the one who will evaluate it. It is not enough that you can read your report. It should be that the reader or other persons could actually read your report properly. Okay? So, if you do not have an answer to a particular question part, leave it blank or write no answer. Okay? On the space provided. If you do not have any responses to an entire question item, for example, for the entire question 1, okay, do not upload anything on the quiz form. Okay? So submission on the quiz form is not actually required. You are really not required to submit anything on each of the items of the quiz form. Okay? So that if you don't have a response for a particular question item, you don't really need to provide one. So next, report file format, and file name. Okay? You have to save your report. Okay, so these are now our reports. Okay, and we have to save them using the docx format. So we have to save the report using the docx format. Okay, so as you can see here, the file type of our answer sheets, accomplished answer sheets are Microsoft Word document, which is in docx. Okay, so you have to ensure that number one, the file name of the answer sheet corresponds to the question code for which it answers to. Okay, so if this template is for question QZ101, then its answer sheet should be named as QZ101. Now, if you download them properly, if you have downloaded them properly at the start, you need not to worry about this because the answer sheet, when downloaded properly, is named already as the question code. Okay? But again, please do check whenever you are making your reports and before you actually upload. Okay? Because sometimes you may mix up things or mix things up, and you may have uh, inadvertently change the file names of your answer sheet. So therefore, please do check those things before you upload. So save your report as a docx file with the file name corresponding to the question code it is intended for. So if it answers QZ101, the questions under QZ101, then it should be named as QZ101.docx. Now, since you are done with your reports, okay, you are now ready to upload them. Okay, if you are ready to upload and submit your reports, you go to the quiz form via the assignments tab of Teams. So you will have to go back here at this quiz form. Okay, and because this is where we will upload our answer at this part. Okay, so upload your files into its proper location using the question code as the matching criterion. So here, in this item, we need to upload the answer sheet for question QZ101. So select this upload file. I mean, click the button of upload file, and then click the proper file to be uploaded there, which is QZ101. Okay, and then wait for it to upload. Okay, so it's now uploaded. Okay, so we proceed with QZ102. Okay, and then wait for it to upload. Now, after everything has been uploaded, okay, you can now submit. Okay, you can now click the submit. Okay, please do not click the submit button if you are not if everything is not yet uploaded. Okay, you are to click this submit button only once. And once you have clicked this submit button, you have already submitted. So if there is an error in your submission, because say for example, you have failed to upload one of the files, and then you have already clicked the submit button, then we cannot do anything about that anymore because you already have submitted. Okay, so let's click submit and wait for this part where it indicates that your response has been submitted. So now you have already submitted your report for quiz number 1. So again, as a reminder, if you do not have any report to submit on an item, leave it as it is. Do not upload. There is no need for you to upload anything on an item that you do not have any accomplished report. Okay? No. Now, some other reminders, okay, for the quizzes. Please take note of the following important reminders when taking your quizzes or exams. 1. Write and submit a report that is presentable and professionally made. So I am expecting that your reports are now to be professionally looking, okay, and decent and presentable. Okay. So you have access to Office 365 apps that will help you create decent and professional reports. Learn how to use and maximize these apps. You are also reminded to review the guidelines set for writing your reports written on writing your reports page under the course information section of your class notebook to help you make presentable and professional reports. So we have already reviewed this one earlier. Okay? Now, this is important. It's a second reminder. Never put in any plagiarized content on your report. Okay? This will automatically make your score for the quiz or exam to be 0. And no, that would be no questions asked. Okay? You will not be asked to defend why there is a plagiarized content on your report because that is indefensible. Okay? Now, plagiarized content includes but not limited to, okay? Screenshot of books, solution manuals, work of others, including your classmates, former students of the class, etc. That is intended to be most of your response to the question or majority of the response to your question. Okay? If the screenshot is actually used as the response itself or most of the response itself, it's considered to be a plagiarized content. Okay? Statements, images, codes, or other materials that were lifted off from sources that you did not cite. Okay? And you may use these materials as part of your, but not as your actual response, provided that you cite them where you have taken them. As I have mentioned earlier regarding lifting of statements from references, you can use these statements from your references, okay, as long as you give your own take into them. Okay, but if you fail to do that, response would be considered as plagiarized. So next, you may use computational apps to aid you in writing your response. Okay. Now you need to present the entire process of the use of the app in your report. Okay. You need to present the entire process. Again, these computational apps, if you give the codes, these codes are not self-explanatory. Okay. So say for example, if you have an item that where you plan to use a computational app to as part of your solution, this illustration actually gives you an idea on how to write them. Okay, on how to include the codes by generated from and used in the computational apps to generate the answer. Okay, so here, as you can see, the problem, okay, requires for solving 5 simultaneous equations with 4 unknowns. Okay, so first we state the mathematical background of the process that we will have to do. Okay, and then we will have to present. We will then represent how it is done in MATLAB or the operations or the command to be used in MATLAB. Okay. And then here we present now the actual commands that we'll have to use. Okay, so we'll have to define matrix A, vector B, and then these commands in order for MATLAB to return the following results. Okay. Now, note that the codes under the command window are not screenshots. So these things are not screenshots. Okay. Okay, so here we present the actual answer sheet where we write the solution or the response for the question. Okay, so again, we presented the problem, okay, the simultaneous equations, then the mathematical basis for that, okay, and then the MATLAB operation that needs to be done in order for us to solve the problem. Okay, now we then present the codes, okay, that we used in MATLAB in order for us to solve the problem. And again, as I mentioned earlier, when you present codes, you present them as texts. Okay, text meaning these are not screenshots. You can actually copy and paste them. Okay, because I would like to try to I might try your codes. I might try executing your codes so that for me to do that with ease, I can just copy and paste your codes into my MATLAB command window. Okay, so therefore make this as text. But in order for you to separate these codes from other parts of the text, you put it inside a table. Okay, where you've been seeing this in your in your reading materials. I've been using this format in your reading materials, and you just need to emulate them. Okay, So here, you have to provide the code in a table. If you're writing them under the command window, then use command window. If you're writing them as a M file, then use editor. Okay, and then there. So you can present the code in a contiguous manner, meaning you have to present all the codes, but you have to make some explanation. Okay, so here, instead of actually writing the codes in one contiguous manner, okay, I actually divided them so that I can put in some of my explanation. Okay, so that I can explain what is the next process after this definition. Okay, now after that, okay, you can now present the results that the MATLAB would actually return. And when you present the results MATLAB would return for your commands, you can present them now as screenshots. Okay, you can present them as screenshots. Okay, but you have to remember that when you present them as screenshots, you only include pertinent parts of the screen, not the entire screen of MATLAB. Okay, you just have to choose which of the which of which result do you need to present. Okay, so if you are to take the entire screens you have to take a shot of the entire screen of MATLAB, then you may want to crop. Okay, to crop into the important part of the screenshot only, so that you would only show the results returned by MATLAB. Okay, and again, these results are not self-explanatory. They don't explain themselves. You have to provide what these results mean. Okay, so in this case, it means that these results actually pertains to the value of W, X, Y, and Z. So respectively, this is W because the first row of P actually pertains to the first column of the um, matrix A, which is the coefficients for the variable W. Okay, the second row of P actually denotes or the pertains to the second row or second column of A. Okay, which pertains to the coefficients of the variable X. So therefore, the first 5 over 18 here, the first 5 over 18 here refers to the value of W. Okay, the first 2 over 9 here refers to the value of X. Okay, Y 2 over 9 here pertains to the value of Y, and Z and 5 over 18 here pertains to the value of Z. So you have to interpret the results. Results in your MATLAB are not self-explanatory. You have to explain them. Okay. So as quizzes and exams form a majority percentage of your final grade for the course, please give due importance to these activities and make sure that you will maximize the score that you can obtain by writing detailed reports. Okay? The examples in your reading materials can be used as a model to write your reports. Be sure to check them out and pattern or emulate your responses after these examples. Never expect to obtain high quiz and exam scores if your report is unclear, lacks discussions and details, full of statements lifted from books and internet sources, etc. Same thing also with your homework. Okay? Try to explain things using your own words. You may quote a book or other sources but expound on it using your own words. Provide discussions to your solutions to problem-solving questions. Provide materials that will strengthen the evidence that you have achieved the outcomes being assessed in a particular question. Okay? Now, to score your responses, okay, we will use the following rubric. We will use the following rubric. So the rubric for scoring student responses to individual assessment questions. Okay. So the following table presents the rubric to be used to score your responses to assessment questions. The rubric will apply independently per question part. So I'll use the rubric per question part. So the maximum point to be provided per question part is 10 points. As you can see here, the maximum points that the rubric provides is 10 points. And the minimum and the lowest is 0. Okay? So take note of the keywords that I underlined in this rubric. Okay? So that you have a guide on which things you should include in your response. Okay? So always attempt to write your response taking into consideration the factors that can lead you to obtaining high scores for your response. So, yun. I already underlined the things that I would be looking for in your responses here. Okay? Now, non-compliance to the guidelines. So, minor non-compliances to the guidelines in writing the quiz and exam reports, which includes but certainly not limited to the following. So, number one, non-compliance with formatting guidelines. If you have misformatted or if the formatting of your answer sheet, your report deviates from what was required. Failing to fill up the information required at the header of the answer sheet template. This is most of the students fail to do. Okay, they actually fail to they most of the time forget to fill up the information here at the header. So please do this first. Okay, because this personalizes and this personalizes your answer sheet. Okay, this is the only way that I can identify that your answer sheet is yours. Okay. um, Placing unreasonably sized, distorted, or unpleasantly looking images into the report. So if your report contains images that are out of proportion, that are distorted, and etc., okay, that's considered minor non-compliance. And other non-compliances that will not really affect how the responses will be scored, as may be determined by the evaluator. So maybe there are some other non-compliances that I was not able to think about of right now, but they can be considered as minor non-compliances as long as these non-compliances does not really affect how your reports are presented. Okay, but other non-compliances, okay, that actually affects how your responses are interpreted, okay, may prevent the evaluator from reading and understanding the report and may cause the forfeiture of the score for the response. So again, if I find that your response is unreadable, okay, I will not be able to check your response, and therefore, you will get a score. You will automatically get a score of 0 for that particular response. So plagiarism will be dealt with accordingly as it is considered academic dishonesty. Depending on the extent of the use of plagiarized material, plagiarism may lead to invalidation of the student's submission, either in part or in whole. So it means that either a score of 0 will be given to a question part, just a question part, okay? Or it may be given to the entire question item. So you may score a 0 for the entire question item. Or it may cause you to actually have a 0 score for the entire quiz or exam. So please be very careful the about writing your materials, about your writing your responses and using the use of materials from your references. Okay, so that you will not be accused of plagiarism. Okay, so in the next printouts, okay, under this, okay, I have provided examples of accomplished answer sheets. Okay, so that you can see them in full. Okay, so the next printouts are samples of accomplished answer sheet templates containing student responses. So you can again use this as model reports which you need to emulate. So here. So I hope that you can check this uh, printouts, okay, in this page so that you can prepare on you really have an idea on how to write your quiz and exam reports. Okay. So again, the guidelines that I have put forward here does not only apply to your quizzes and your exam. They also apply to your homeworks. Okay. Especially the manner by which we write the reports. Okay. So I also would like to see that your reports written in this manner. Okay. So that ends this video demonstration on the presentation of guidelines for the conduct of the quiz and exams in our class. I hope that you are able to understand all of this, okay, as you plan for uh, writing your reports when you are to take your quizzes and exams. Okay, thank you for listening.